Hey 100X, it's Lori West. I'm seeing if anybody's on. Some of you guys might be in church if you're out on the West Coast, I guess. I'm on the East Coast, so it's about 2 o'clock my time. So here's day 14. Is that what we're on? I had to think there for a second. Day 14 of my God stories. And I put down the title as God is Defender. Hey, Dasha. God is Defender. And I had put I'm big enough. Oops, hold on. Getting a notification. Those things drive me crazy. All right. And they won't stop coming. Sorry, hold on. All right. God is my defender. So Dasha had actually posted something yesterday that I had said, and I had learned it from Graham Cook about asking God, who do you want to be for me today that you couldn't be in any other season? Or just who do you want to be for me today? What do you want to be for me today? And about 8 or 9 years ago, I went through a really rough time in my marriage, and I asked God that question almost every day. And for a long time, he would say, I want to be your defender. I want to be your defender, because I'm a firstborn child. As a kid, my mom told my dad, I think we have a future lawyer on our hands because I always would prove that I was right if I was right, and I couldn't say I'm sorry if I wasn't wrong. And I had a very strong sense of justice. And God was really wanting to teach me how he could be my defender. And so the picture that I would keep in my head was of Jesus when he stood before all the people accusing him, and he stood quiet, and he didn't reply back, and he didn't defend himself. Number one, he needed to go to the grave to save us all. So he knew what he was doing, and he knew that what he was doing was God's will, but he also knew that that God, his dad, was big enough to defend him. And in the end, he overcame death for us. So I always had that picture of Jesus standing silently, being beaten and tortured and accused. And God kept reminding me, I am your defender. I am your defender. I am your defender. Even if you don't defend yourself and you don't say anything, I am your defender. So here's kind of a funny, cool story. So there was one day about 8 or 9 years ago where my husband at the time, we were arguing about something, and something happened, and we were just mad. And so we kind of were talking through email that day, and he sent me an email saying some things that, just from my perspective, I felt like they were not true. From his perspective, that's how he interpreted everything. And so I was mad, and I just wanted to just set the record straight and defend myself and tell him what really happened. And that's not my intentions, and that's not my heart, because that's what we do, right? So I got in the car and I had to go to Walmart, and I'm going to Walmart and I'm praying and I'm like, God, I just want to say this and this and this. And God kept telling me, literally, this is what I heard in my spirit. Shut up, Lori. Shut up. Do not say a word. Do not say a word. The only thing you're allowed to say is this. And it was a short little small phrase that my husband had said. I just wish sometimes you would say blah, 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 whatever it was. And I was like, no, God, but he's wrong. I'm right. Da, da, da. And God kept saying, shut up, Lori. Shut up, Lori. Just say this. That is not going to help the situation. So I came home, prayed about it, and I sent him an email back saying just that one phrase that God told me to say. And that night, as we lay in bed, things broke. And my husband and I were able to talk, and he said, something to the effect of he really appreciated the fact that that's how I responded. And some things got better that night. Ultimately, we still had a long road to go. But listening to the Lord, that he could be my defender. Another part of that story is there was another time where, again, I was feeling like I was being made out to be the enemy, and I was upset, and God just kept saying, I'm your defender, I'm your defender, I'm your defender. Lori, be quiet. Be quiet. And I'm like, God, I said, well, then you need... He's like, I'm big enough to handle my boy, and I'm big enough to handle my girl. I'm big enough to handle both of you guys. And I'm like, well, fine. Then you need to tell him that I'm not the enemy. But I don't even think he hears you. He says he doesn't hear you. And God, I felt like he laughed at me. He said, didn't I create this whole world? Didn't I speak through a donkey? Didn't I speak through a burning bush? Didn't I speak, through a variety of ways? Don't you think that I could get a word to him if I wanted to? And I'm like, well, fine. Then you have to tell him I'm not the enemy. I'm not the enemy here. I'm trying to work this out. And 2 days later, my husband came up to me and said, hey, Laura, I just want you to know, I know you're not the enemy. Believe me, I was like, okay, God, tell him this, tell him that. No. It was so impactful to me to see that God truly can be our defender, that He truly can be our provider, that He truly can be our healer, that He wants to give us upgrades in those things. But when we take the reins sometimes, when He says, sorry, I'm fixing my camera, when He says to be quiet and we open our mouth, or He says to wait and we run ahead, or He says, trust and we decide to partner with fear and doubt and worry instead, it hinders His ability to show up for us in those instances. It's like a little kid, where the dad's saying, come on, let me do that for you. It's going to be amazing. Let me show you how this is done. And the kid's like, no, I do it. And he tries to do it and ends up breaking the toy or breaking, something or doing it wrong. And then it's a total failure. And then he wants to blame it on his dad, like, oh, you bought me a broken toy. Well, no, if you had just listened and done it the way that I had said, or let me do it, then maybe it would have gone the right way. And so this isn't a chastisement story. This is a story of listen to the Lord, develop that relationship with the Lord, and listen to what He says. And even if it sometimes seems counterintuitive, but Jesus, He was totally counterintuitive to the time that He lived in. Listen to Him, trust Him, step out in faith, and see what happens. God wants to give you an upgrade today in your relationship with Him. He wants to be your defender, your protector, your provider, your healer. And there were so many months where I felt like He just kept saying, I want to be your defender, I want to be your defender, I want to be your protector, I want to be your defender. And then there was one day that I just fell apart. I got out of the shower and I just collapsed on the floor in a heap before I even got dressed, and was crying and sobbing, and went through my process of where I kind of pour out everything to the Lord, and then I choose to give thanks, and I give that gratitude and thanks for things, and then I say, Daddy God, what do you want to be for me today? Who do you want to be for me today? And I just heard, because I was telling Him, I can't do this anymore. I can't. And I just heard His sweet, sweet whisper to my spirit that said, I want to be your sustainer. And I was totally expecting defender and protector, because that was the message for so many weeks. But He said, I want to be your sustainer. And I went and printed up all the scriptures I could find about Him being my sustainer, because if He said it, He means it. And now I need to meditate on that and really grasp hold of what does that mean for Him to be my sustainer. So anyways, I love you guys. This is day 14 of God's stories. God wants to give you an upgrade today in your relationship with Him. And ask Him today, who do you want to be for me today? And who do you say that I am? Because as you get to know who He is and you get to know who you are going to be able to love others better, and you're going to be able to fully be all who God created you to be. Not do, be. You're going to do things too, but who are you and who is God? So, all right. Love you guys. Talk to you tomorrow, day 15. Bye. Enjoy your Sunday.